All right, so now we're going to simplify using all the three properties that we looked at in the first section. So what we need to do is look here and say, okay, well, we have a negative 4x squared, we have a negative 8 times a quantity. So it looks like we're going to have to do some distribution first, and then we'll see what we have after that. So bringing things down, we have a negative 4k squared, then we have a negative 8 times 8, so it's going to be a negative 64. K times k is k squared. Now we have a negative 8k times 1, so that's going to be a negative 8k. Now we notice we have like terms. So now we can add those two together, and negative 64 plus a negative 4 is going to be a negative 68k squared, and then we still have minus 8k. And then that would be our final answer after we've simplified the original expression. Now what about the next one? Well, it looks like we have two sets of distribution to do. We have to do the first one here, and then we have to do the second one here. And again, like we did here, we have to remember that negative goes through both of them. So here, this negative goes through both of these as well. So we have a negative 2r times 1 is a negative 2r. Here we have a negative 2 times a 4, so that's going to be a negative 8. And here we have r times r, so that's going to be r squared. Now we have an 8r times a negative r, so that's going to be a negative 8r squared, because r times r is r squared. Then we have 8r times 4, so that's going to be plus 32r. All right, so now looking, we have an r squared as a like term, and we have r's that are like terms. Okay, so if we write that below, we have a negative 8 plus a negative 8, so it's going to be a negative 16r squared, and 32 minus 2 is going to be plus 30r. Okay. Now the next one doesn't really look like it's anything. It's just two expressions, and we could just write them all out. But remember, when we have that negative here, we have to distribute throughout. So that gives us 7x squared minus 3. We're just going to drop those parentheses. And now we're going to take negative 5x squared and then negative 6x. Now, we do have like terms here. The others aren't like terms, so we don't have to worry about those. So now we have 7 minus 5. Well, that's 2x squared. And then we have minus 6x. And then we have minus 3. Now notice I wrote this in decreasing powers of x. So x squared, x to the first, and x to the 0, which is just 1. And so we write it in decreasing order for the powers. Now, what about here? Well, it looks like instead of binomials, now we have trinomials. So we have to have 3 distributions here and 3 distributions here. So we're going to take negative 8x times this. So 8 times 4 is 32, and it's a negative. So negative 32, x times x squared is x cubed. Now, 8 times 2 is 16, and it's negative, so negative 16, and x times x is x squared. Now we have a negative times a negative, so it's positive, and it's just 8x. Moving over here, we have a 3 times a negative 7, so it's a negative 21x cubed. 3 times the negative 4 is a negative 12. Then we have x squared. And then 3 times a plus 7 is plus 21. All right, let's start with the highest power. So we have an x cubed and an x cubed. We have an x squared and an x squared. Then we have an x and no x. And so that's only 4 terms that are added together we can combine. So a negative 32, negative 21, so that's going to be a negative, and that's going to be 3 and 2 is 5, 2 and 1 is 3, and x cubed. Now here we have negative 16 minus 12, so it's going to be a negative 28x squared plus 8x plus 21. Okay. Now this one, really nothing to do except for combining like terms, so it's pretty nice. So we have an x to the 7th, and we have an x to the 3rd, and then we have a 4. So if we take 3 plus 7, we have a 10x to the 7th. Then we have 5 plus 8, so that's plus 13x cubed. And then we have plus 4. Okay. And that would be all we'd have to do on that one. Nothing else but adding like terms. So some of them we have to do the distribution, and then after that we do, combining like terms. Some of them we just have to combine like terms, so it's not too hard. So let's pause there and we'll come back for more.